I prefer you. I like you. I prefer you. I prefer you. Won't you settle down with me?
Bridget, thanks for inviting me to your bedroom.
Thanks for coming along.
No, I know it's very weird to sit in your bed because it's very personal, but I just feel like a lot of people do make music in their bedroom.
Yeah.
And I can see your piano's over there, your laptop's over there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is, do you make music in this room?
Yes, I do make music in this room. This is where it happens.
Awesome. So I guess my first question is, what do you use on your laptop? Is it Logic? Is it Pro Tools? Is it Fruit Loops? What's your go-to?
I do use Logic. I was a really big fan of GarageBand throughout the years, so it just made sense to transition into Logic because it's basically the same interface. Yeah.
No, for sure. I do feel like a lot of people start off in GarageBand and then they're like, upgrade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you kind of were making stuff in GarageBand, like, do you almost feel like you were creating things like not better, but like because when you have like such a low budget, you almost like push yourself to like create such amazing things. But then when you're given too much freedom, it's like, oh, is this like, am I not like being specific enough about like my technique and like key to detail? How did you find that?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I did have exactly that experience. I found that working with GarageBand, the limitations actually did push me to challenge myself. And, if I had some kind of a software instrument that didn't sound quite how I wanted it, rather than being able to use one that already did, I had to work out how to make it sound like that. And so I think it was really good starting out with something basic and then upgrading to something and then just being kind of blown away by the range of all the inputs and everything. Yeah, for sure.
I have a similar, not to nerd out, but to me it's very similar to like when I watch like Doctor Who, when it was low budget, it was better.
I cannot believe that you said that because I was thinking this and I forgot that you were a Doctor Who fan as well. Yeah. I don't know how I could have forgotten that. I'm sorry. I genuinely do believe that the best, at least if we're talking modern Who anyway, the best era of Doctor Who is when they were limited by the budget.
Exactly.
They couldn't spend on all the production design, on all of the CGI and everything, so they had to rely on the story and the characters and all of that. So I totally believe that the best art is created when there are limitations.
Absolutely. Like I feel like when things, like even Star Wars, when I watch like a Star Wars movie now, I mean a lot of it has gotten more interesting, but there was a period where it was like everyone got a bit excited with the CGI and it was like, oh my God, like where's the storyline? Like it's like 40 minutes in and it's all just been fight scenes because they realize, oh my God, guys, look what we can do without a green screen. Exactly. It's like, oh boy.
And I think just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I think, Puppet Yoda has got a lot of charm to him. I like that.
Puppet Yoda.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to music, now in terms of what you've released, I mean, I'm thinking back to your album that you released 3 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
And it's Do You Feel the Same, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love that album because I feel like to me, and we both have a mutual love for melodrama, Lord. Like, we're obsessed with that. And I feel like you emulated that sound and made it your own in that album.
Thank you. That's like the biggest compliment you could give me.
Well, because I know how much you appreciate her sound.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, the way to become an artist is to emulate someone else's sound for as long as you can until it turns into your own. Because you'll get to a point as a musician where it will just become something else. And you won't even realize that transition because you'll just keep emulating people that you love. And then one day you're like, oh, I'm Bridget. And they're everywhere. Like, they're different.
Everyone else. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that. I mean, even yesterday I was just having a mess around and sometimes I like to just spontaneously record a cover of something, and I was doing a little cover of Your Power by Billie Eilish because I learned how to play it on guitar. And I like recording a cover and not listening to the original as I'm recording it. And then I found that actually when I was putting it all together, I unintentionally made it my own because I'm not like, I know the song, but I'm not familiar with it inside out. So I ended up changing things about it to how I wanted it to sound in a way. And so like I kind of unintentionally made it my own. So yeah, it just
I did the exact same for a HSC performance. I sung an Adele song and unintentionally I changed all the lyrics in the bridge. Didn't even realize it. And then when I sang it and then I listened back to the song after the HSC, I was like, shit, like I just changed like Adele's song, which like there's a lot of issues with that in itself. But it's just like, sometimes there's no harm in like not listening to a song too much because then you'll just find yourself copying.
Exactly.
And you don't want to copy, you want to emulate.
Absolutely. I do think there's a difference between just like straight up ripping off of someone. But I think it's okay to begin like that, but then obviously at some point you definitely have to evolve and find your own sound because then otherwise why would someone listen to you when they can just listen to this other person?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think something, you're going to love this compliment. Amazing. This is so nice.
All right, I'm so ready. I'm still like processing the Lord one, so.
But like when I listen to your music, I get the same feeling in the sense of nostalgia, which I feel like is what Lord is. She's like that nostalgic sound. And it's like, if for some reason there's like, I don't know what sounds you're using because I'm not like a producer, but like it takes me back to a certain time in my life. And it's just so weird. Like I can't explain the feeling obviously because it's like very specific, but it's just like, whether it was like a first boyfriend or like just like my childhood, like you get the same drone sound that she does and it makes you go back in time for some reason. And I feel like that's something that you definitely want to do for your like listeners and stuff. Do you feel like that album, if it was made now, would be like very different, or would you feel like it would be, and I'm not just saying like lyric wise because obviously you may feel different now than you did before, but like do you feel like the sound of it would be different?
I think that's a great question. And thank you for the compliment as well, because that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I do think it would be different. I think since then, I actually going back to the whole like limitations thing, I have kind of learned how to use the software and the resources that I have more. So I kind of have more options with what I want to do. And I've kind of found that my style has evolved to use a little bit more electronic instruments than before. But that being said, like I wouldn't want to do it differently. I really like the acoustic sound of it, and it really like encapsulated my writing style at that time. Yeah. But it is interesting to listen back and think like, yeah, how I would do that differently now. Because yeah, definitely more electronic instruments for a start. And I mean, I imagine the lyrics would be different.
Yeah,
as well,
I mean,
I was a teenager when I wrote them, so. And I'm like an adult now, which is disgusting to say. But yeah, I mean, the way that I even just process things is different now. So they'd be completely different songs.
The best way I describe that feeling is Driver's License. Mm-hmm. Great song, Olivia Rodrigo. It's to me, it's like when I listen to that song, like where I am now in my life, I'm like my 16-year-old self would love that song. And it's not that I don't love it now, but it's like the way she's talking about those feelings of, you know, being in love for the first time and like being really young. Yeah. It's like 16, like it's like the prime age of that like angsty feeling. And it's like, it's so interesting when it's like as we get older, we almost start recognizing like, oh, that song really would have made sense when we were younger.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting as well because I feel like I could probably relate to the experiences that she's talking about in the song more now, but not as much the emotions. Like, the emotions are things that as a teenager I would be like, yes, and I'd be like singing like my heart out to that song and not relate to any of the lyrics, but deeply connect with the song somehow. So yeah, I do get that same feeling from that song.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of like where you kind of want to go with your next single or album, like do you feel like that's coming, or are you enjoying just kind of doing your own thing offline in terms of like music and stuff? Like, do you feel like you're going to come back with something big, or are you just kind of like slowly creep back in? What are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't know yet, and I think it's making me feel a bit like anxious in a way, because I have left for so long now that I'm like, yeah, will I do that and just kind of creep my way back in and just post some little covers here and there, or do I have to come back with this explosive new single and just make it be the best thing ever?
Yeah.
And so I think I'm kind of coming to the realization that I just want to release whatever feels right at that time.
Yeah.
That's it. Whatever it feels like it's the right thing to be out into the world, whatever feels like it relates to my situation or my mental state at the moment, like that's what I want to do. And if I don't feel like that in a couple of months' time, then I don't. But if I feel like it now, then great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because do you feel like, and maybe this has changed over the last like few years or something, but do you feel like music is like where you see yourself in the future, or is it like, if I don't end up being a musician, I won't mind because I know you have other creative interests. So do you feel like it's kind of like there's that pressure to like actually be a musician, or are you kind of like, I'm just happy releasing when I feel like it, just doing my own thing? Like where do you kind of feel with that?
I do feel the pressure to commit full-time to something, and I don't feel like I can right now. And I feel like I'm at this point in my life where every choice I make feels like a crossroads decision, and I don't want to be making choices now that define me and my career and what I do for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure around that. I don't know if it's coming from outside or if it's just me putting that pressure on myself, because I guess whenever I do something, I want to put 110% into it. But that is the problem. Like, I'm passionate about so many things that I'm finding it hard to find just one thing to care about fully and commit to fully.
And I feel like it's really bad because a lot of creative people get under the impression that like you have to do one thing. Mm-hmm. And if you don't give it your blood, sweat, and tears to that one thing, then you're wasting your time. You shouldn't even bother. And it's like, why can't you do lots of things? Why do you have to just do one thing? And you know what? Doing lots of things will actually make you a better musician.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, my art is so heavily inspired and influenced by my life and all the experiences that I have. So it makes sense that, like, the more that I do, the better my art's going to be. But, like, back to what you were saying about kind of not wanting to, like, box yourself in. Yeah. I mean, I was even having this internal monologue the other day where I was thinking about how I'm known as Brighid Music on all of my socials. And I was like, what if I want to do something else sometimes? You know, like, what if I mean, like, I've got a media degree now, and I really love film and TV. What if I want to do that? What if I want to write? What if I want to paint? Like, who knows? So, and then I was thinking, you know, like, well, Lord...
Rebrand.
Yeah. Lord's got Lord Music and whatever, but Lady Gaga, she's Lady Gaga. She's music, acting, you know, philanthropist, makeup, exactly. Like, she's just the whole package. And I do think that more often than not, like, when you find people who are creative, they're creative in more than one field.
Absolutely.
So I don't understand why there is this whole, like, wanting to put people in a category and be like, you're a musician.
I think it's part of this kind of, like, snobbiness of... And I kind of spoke about this on my podcast, episode 4, where I talk about how I don't want to be a singer because I always felt like there was this pressure to just give up everything else, to sacrifice literally my life to this thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't want to sacrifice shit. Like, and I think some people do need to sacrifice because it's important to, like, sometimes if you want to be really successful, you have to sacrifice. But, like, there's a point where it's just, you can still be a successful musician without having to sacrifice everything to that one craft.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I think people see one version of someone and they think, I have to do exactly what that person, like, they're a template or something. They're like, I have to, you know, stay up for hours and, I don't know, do a bunch of cocaine to be like this like crazy artist. It's like, mate, you can drink tea and go to bed at 9 o'clock at night and just write some tunes, you know, but it doesn't have to be this dramatic thing. And I think people want it to be because it's romanticized, you know, that
the whole idea of like sacrifice and like pain in order to get some kind of like to be successful or to create good art. Like there's just such an idea of you have to sacrifice everything, you have to ruin all of your closest relationships, and it's like,
just so stupid.
Why? Like, why can't I have all of it? You know?
And don't get me wrong, a lot of great art that has happened has come from pain.
Yes.
But
not manufactured pain.
Exactly. Yes. And the thing is, a lot of even writers or composers, they go on writing camps, they go on composition camps, and they all work together collaborative to create industry great songs that you've probably listened to. And it's just like, a lot of stuff is made like in a very like PG chill kind of way. Like it's not this like, oh, like we're in the studio and like we're all like, I don't know, there's like strippers and like it's all crazy. Like I feel like people have this idea that it's just insane, and it's like most of the time it's just a group of people talking, trying to like come up with some like really cool stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like it can be just quite a safe clinical process even.
Because it's a product. Like
it's a product. Yeah, especially when it's those camps and things and they're looking for commercial success. Yeah, it's a product completely. So yeah.
What is kind of your opinion on commercial music and then kind of music as an art? Like if someone approached you and was like, hey, there's this advertisement that we've got going and we really need like a really catchy tune for it. I actually asked Ruby Jackson the same question. I'm kind of curious, if someone approached you and asked that, would you feel like you're sacrificing your integrity or your art for the sake of making money? And I'm not even questioning what the product is. Maybe it's just like a product that you feel indifferent about. It's not like dramatic or anything. Do you think that you would accept money to make a song that was for commercial use?
I think so. I think that I would be able to take that as actually a challenge and an opportunity to, you know, expand my skill set, because that's not something that I'm used to doing. I'm not used to writing for other people. And actually I did, there was someone who approached me actually quite early on to from when I released Kinda, and they were like an insurance company. I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And anyway, it ended up like falling through because I don't know, something happened with the company.
I mean, insurance companies.
I made it sound a little bit scandalous, but like they were only just starting out. So they were reaching out to local artists and things. And so, but basically they were like, oh, we want you to write a song for this campaign. And I was like, this is awesome. And they were like, oh, we want you to make it, you know, I asked them like, what is it for? Like, what do you want it to be about? Like, I was expecting a whole lot more criteria, and they were just like, oh, just make it sound like Kinda. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's an interesting brief.
Yeah.
Because I've never
It's not really a brief, but yeah.
Yeah, brief in the loosest terms possible.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, then why don't you just use Kinda?
Yeah.
Like, you can use that if you like that, then use that.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then there was another time as well, not too long after that, where basically this creator that I'm a really massive fan of and have actually had like a couple conversations with, asked if I had any music that sounded like this other song, and like any music that I had made that he could use for the end credits of his movie.
Oh, wow.
And me being me, I didn't see the message until a couple of days later, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, like, let me make something straight away. And I pulled an all-nighter to write the song. I know that I just said that I like go to bed at 9 p.m. That is the only time I'll pull an all-nighter.
Yeah, I can really see you, like, doing, like, crazy things. Like, when you say an all-nighter, you were probably, like, drinking green tea and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a green tea, right? yeah, for sure. I was
like, drinking bottles of Hennessy, you know?
No. It was just, like, me, like, trying to record, like, my vocals and also not wake up my brother in the room next door to me at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very chill.
Yeah.
But, anyway, again, like, he ended up already having something because I took too long to get back to him. But then I got the song Runaways.
I love... That's the opening song of the album,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
And that song to me is like... It's like... I don't know, it's a great intro song because it's got that, I don't know, the start is just...
Yeah, I knew
love
when
it.
I wrote the song that I was like, okay, if I ever put this on a project, like, that needs to be the
Start.
opening song because
Yeah.
I love, like, the boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I was like, it just sounds like such an opening song.
It is.
Yeah, thank you.
And I also wanted to touch on, like, obviously it's not a major part of the... I mean, maybe it is a major part of the album, but the interlude...
Yes.
Where you've just got that instrumental, and... I feel like I said this a while ago, but it really reminds me of, like, a TV show that I watched at one point that had, like, instrumental music like that. And it's just, like, I don't know, your instrumental is very good.
Thank you.
Like, I really like it. And it just, I don't know, you really evoke quite, like, a lot of emotion from it. Was that, like, something you came up with on purpose that was going to be an instrumental, or was it part of a song that you were like, I have nowhere... Like, I don't have lyrics for this. I just want to put it in, like...
Yeah, I'm actually, like, I have to cast my mind back now because I think I wrote that when I was, like, yeah, literally 17. Okay. So, a while ago now. But, I think I did go in with the intention of it being an instrumental. I tried to add lyrics to it, and actually, I used that instrumental at first, and then put the lyrics of Runaways to it. So it's really funny that you bring that up actually right afterwards because, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but it is the same chord progression, and I'm not sure if it's the same tempo or if I changed the tempo. But anyway, I started adding lyrics to that song and adding other instrumentals and things to it, and then I ended up, like, scrapping it halfway through because I was like, I don't like this. And then I kept the interlude separate and then Runaways separate, and I just found that it worked so much better. But yeah, I really, really like doing instrumental music, and sometimes I'll write an instrumental and there are just I can't find the words to fit it, and I can't find, like, the melody is just not coming to me, and I don't want to force something that isn't natural.
and you never should, and I almost feel like instrumentals are kind of underrated. Like,
Absolutely.
I love when, like, pop albums, they'll have, like, just, like, even if it's 30 seconds of just, like, in between a music between the songs, because I do like to listen to an album start to finish because I feel like that's how the artist intends you to listen to it. Obviously, I'm not going to do it, like, some albums I'd pick and choose, obviously, but
Sure.
It's like sometimes you want to listen start to finish and it has a true story there, and I don't know, breaking it up with instrumental I feel like is a really smart way of, like, producing an album.
Yeah, I've always loved that because I feel like it can kind of create, like, some point of difference and interest, and, like, kind of, like, my interlude that I have is very introspective, I feel, as well, and I feel like it gives you a little moment to just, like, reflect on what you've just heard, and then, okay, now some more. But yeah, I absolutely love interludes, though. I mean, I don't know if you've heard, because she only just released it on Friday, I think, but Dodie's new album, Build a Problem. It's
Very
gorgeous. Good. It's gorgeous, and she uses a lot of interludes as well. And she's actually spoken about wanting to you know, like write for a musical as well and do things like that and write more instrumental things as well.
That's really cool.
So, and yeah, and I kind of want to do the same thing. I did direct a short film last year as part of my degree.
Nice.
Thank you. Just get a little flex in there. And I did the music for it. And I loved doing the music for it, especially because I was like, well, I'm the director and the writer, so I know the vision that I want.
And if you can be the composer as well, go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed that as like something different to do. And again, a challenge, because it is actually really hard to like compose for the screen. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And also sometimes lyrics can kind of help where instruments are lacking. So if you feel like, oh, it's not really evoking the emotion, I'll rely on the lyrics a bit more to like push the idea across. And it's like, I think musicians should challenge themselves into writing music without lyrics, because it almost forces them to think about, how do I convey everything that I'm thinking, want to say through just instruments.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Could you see yourself doing stuff for like composition stuff or for like screen production? Do you see yourself doing that?
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to, because it's kind of like two of my biggest passions combined. Like I love, like if I think about it, I'm just like, oh yeah, why would I not try and score for, you know, the screen, like film or TV, whatever that might be. Yeah, that would be great, because it's combining both my passions, and then also I would think as well, you know, like both areas that I am pretty knowledgeable in now as well through my own experience.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be applying a lot of my skills.
Absolutely.
And really fun.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, you don't seem that precious about your vocals. Like you kind of,
I'm not.
you just kind of are like, I'm just singing this because I have a voice and I'm available and I'm here and I can do it. But you're not like, oh my gosh, like I am a born singer. I need to, everyone needs to hear my vocals. Like you just kind of are like, yeah, like I'll just sing this because it's my lyrics. But in a way, you're not that precious about your vocals. Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
That is true. That doesn't mean that I don't care about giving a good vocal performance.
Okay.
But don't worry, I didn't get that from what you're saying. But yeah, I wouldn't be like, oh no one else can sing this song. It's only for me. And I understand people that are like that. That's fair enough. But for me, my passion has always been in the like composition side rather than the performing side. Well, actually, I say that, but that's not true, because I did used to really like performing, but I just think over time I'm kind of more interested in the like I like recording and, you know, like fiddling around with little bits, like okay, I'll put that there, you know, like rather than doing like a live take. You know, I really like the process of actually building it up, and like there's also an amount of pressure I think that comes with performing live that I'm just like, it's not really the vision for me.
Yeah, and
at this point in time.
Yeah. And to me you're definitely more a producer than a singer. Like that to me, I've always seen you more as a producer than a singer. Not to say that your voice isn't good.
Thank you.
I wouldn't go, you know, I'm not that horrible, but it's just like I don't see your heart in that. Like, I see your heart in the producing side, not to therapize you, but like, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like you're very indifferent about the kind of vocal aspect, and you're just so passionate about the composition side. And I feel like in terms of a career, there is so much good money when it comes to composition work, because it's like TV, movies, advertisements, companies, people need composition work. Like, people are like, yes, we need this. We need original scores. So it's like, it's a great business to go into. And especially as a woman, like that we need more female composers, you know? So absolutely. I think it's definitely where I see you going in the future.
Me too. And I think when it comes down to it, there are people who could sing my songs better than me, but I don't think there are as many people that could write my songs.
I agree.
as good as me.
Yeah.
That's where I think my skill set is. So that's where my passion is. Absolutely.
And also to have that level of self-awareness is
Yeah.
very good, because there are people who I would almost say are in the same boat, or in vice versa, where like they're amazing at singing and I'm like, okay, maybe drop the composing. Like I would probably say that about me. Like I like writing songs, but I am not a composer. Like I'm not a producer. I am a singer.
You're a singer, yeah.
So I think recognizing you yourself as an artist, one of my strengths, and it doesn't mean to stop doing those things. Like keep writing songs, keep composing, or keep singing.
Yeah.
But it's just about, okay, but like what's actually going to make me like challenge myself, excel myself, and actually have a successful career that I know that you feel confident about. And it's just like, if you know that you're really passionate and confident in composition work, then there's no harm in like recognizing that strength. And it's like, I think also recognizing more weaknesses is just like so important as an artist, because it's like collaboration is key. Like I feel like I feel like independent artists these days, I mean, even this whole bedroom concept of like, you know, people are their own record label these days.
Yeah.
The only issue I have with that is it's basically saying, okay, no more collaboration. Because if you're an independent artist, you know how to record yourself, you know how to mix yourself, you know how to produce yourself. And I have a real issue with that, because I would argue that, well, you don't, because you're literally doing what like 100 people are doing for you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, like in what other industry are people like
Doing everything.
Doing everything. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, even if you work, I'm just trying to think of an example now. If you work like at a marketing agency, you have a whole team of people that come up with a concept. You externally hire people to then, you know, like write and film and produce it. Then you come back, then you hire other people to, you know, be a test audience or whatever. Like, there are so many people involved in a creative process, and that's just one element of what independent artists do. Like, as an independent musician, you're totally right. Like, you are the producer, the sound engineer, the performer, the instrumentalist, the writer, the composer, like the promoter, exactly, the manager. You're your own manager. And so that's actually, it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, because I really like that about being an independent musician, in the sense that I like to be able to look at something and be like, wow, I did that all by myself. And that is completely exactly the vision that I wanted. But on the flip side, sometimes, like, I recognize that I don't have the skills on my own to do everything by myself and have it be the vision I want. Exactly. And that's when it gets overwhelming for me, when I think this is what I want to do, but I'm not capable of doing this. I'm not capable of, you know, photographing myself in the ways that I want. I'm not capable of promoting myself in the ways that I want. I'm not capable of mixing this and getting exactly the right sound that I want. And that's where I feel like the issue comes in, where you do need collaboration. And like that again comes with self-awareness and like recognizing what you can't do.
Absolutely. And it's
I like you, kinda, but I prefer you, kinda, than the person that you become now. Why do you keep on shutting me out? 'Cause I like you, kinda.
So when I released my first song, that was really me just like taking a leap of faith and just being like, just pushing myself and saying, you have to do this, you have to put this out here, like for yourself, so that you'll feel more comfortable with sharing your work.
Yeah.
So yeah, in order to find a good collaborator, it's got to be someone who like, you know, can appreciate that and respect that, but then also obviously push you sometimes when you don't want to be pushed.
And yeah, I think it's about
out of your comfort zone as well.
It's important to break out of that fear of like something feels so personal that it's almost like you don't want to separate, but you have to. Absolutely. I think as any artist, there's a point where, and maybe people would disagree with me, but I think, you know, I look at all the songs that I've ever written and it's like, yeah, of course they're very personal to me, but at the end of the day, I have to remove me
Yeah.
from that.
It's separate. It's not you. It's something you've created.
Yeah.
It's not a part of you.
No.
As much as you feel that it is, it isn't. Yeah.
Exactly.
And like whenever I have, like, you know, luckily I haven't actually received that much criticism, which is nice. I guess that comes with being a little more famous.
Yeah, I think people, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. It's like the more successful you become, the more likely you're gonna get criticized.
The more that like non-family members and non-friends listen to your work as well. But like, yeah, the majority of my criticism has been literally like, about the actual music, like not me as a person. That being said though, I did once receive like kind of this passive aggressive remark from someone that was kind of about like, basically they were implying that the way that I portrayed myself and my life in my songs was not accurate to my life. And I feel like that's something...
the dumbest shit I've ever heard. No offense.
Same. And I actually kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about this. Let me just flip your little interview on its head. Because
me, I don't care.
I feel like there's such a pressure on, especially like, singer-songwriters to write things that are like exactly how they happened. And I don't know why that is, because like it's art, you know. I don't know who said this quote, and I'm really going to paraphrase it here, but someone was saying, you know, like a song or like a piece of art, it's not a report. It's not like a documentary. Although, you know, that being said, documentaries are subjective, but I'm not going to go full media student on you here.
Oh gosh, we could I love the whole ethics around documentary. Anyway, we won't get into it.
So do I. We'll have to talk about this later.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not a piece of evidence that's going to be used like in a trial. Like it's not an objective thing. It's literally an expression. And I just was so taken aback by that, because I was like, who cares? Like, I'm not putting these songs out here to be like, look at me. Like, oh, look at all the things that happen to me. Look at all the things that happen in my relationships. Like, no, I purposely embellish and exaggerate certain aspects because that is how I process things. And that's just how it is. Like,
and you know what it comes down to, and this is my issue. I think it's great that people want to be authentic and
absolutely. I don't want to take anything away
No.
from that. Like, authenticity is amazing, but
what I have an issue with is people throw that word around like it's everything.
Yeah.
And look, maybe this is me because like I feel like that magical thing of, you know, artists being these authentic creatures that, you know, every piece of art they make is this authentic, pure thing. It's like, I don't look at it like that anymore. Maybe I kind of put that skepticism away when I listen and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, look, artists probably make up shit all the time about their life. I embellish stuff in songs that I've written. I mean,
Absolutely. I don't know any artist who doesn't do that.
Exactly. And it's like, I understand that people want authenticity, and I don't know, suddenly if you make any remark that isn't authentic, suddenly that makes you a liar, you're evil. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, what happened to just being slightly exaggerated in my art? But people are obsessed with like, they're like, if it's slightly like skewed, then that's not authentic.
And ultimately, like, I'm not releasing my music as some kind of PR stunt.
No.
I'm not releasing my music to be like, this is who I am. I'm releasing my music to be like, this is how I feel.
Yes.
Or this is how I felt. And I think a lot of the times as well, people confuse like authenticity for like, being like exactly this is how it happened or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that the true authenticity that matters is the authenticity of the feelings and the emotions and the intention that's going into it. And even then, it doesn't always matter. Like, who cares? If, like, a bop is a bop, you know? Like,
Exactly.
I feel like authenticity is the new originality. Everyone wanted to be original, and now everyone wants to be authentic. It's like, just make something that's good.
You know what it kind of makes me think? Like, imagine, like, you know, like Taylor Swift, 22, her song, you know, 22. Imagine if she wrote...
22 so I can play that song on a loop all year.
I feel like we all will. But it's like, imagine if she wrote that, like, when she was 17 and it, like, came out like, oh my God, Taylor Swift... She wrote 22 and she was 17. What a liar. It's like...
How do you know what it feels like to be 22? You're 17.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a good song.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
Actually, the whole thing with Taylor Swift as well, I was thinking about her as an
That's
example.
not true, by the way. I just made that up.
Oh, yeah. She wrote that when she was 22. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, we don't know.
We don't know. Yeah. It came out when she was 22. We don't know when she wrote it. But I think Taylor Swift is a great example of that because she's obviously someone who is very authentic in her, in all of her work, and I think that like, so in her like most recent albums, not including Fearless Taylor's version, in Folklore and Evermore. What I really loved about those is that she kind of said that she like took a risk by not writing about her life and about, you know, like writing about things that maybe she hadn't experienced or like other people had experienced or, you know, things that weren't in her life. But I don't think it made them any less authentic. Like, I think that Folklore is like her most emotional album. And I just think, well, that just goes to show like how great of a storyteller she is, that she's able to make these things that she hasn't experienced feel so real and so genuine and authentic because the emotions are there. And she's got an amazing imagination, and I think that's how she's able to do it. And I feel like it's actually harder to write about things that haven't happened to you.
Definitely. Anytime I've ever had to write about something that isn't related to me, it's incredibly hard.
Like when I was like 15 and like trying to write about like breakups, it's like, oh, you haven't even had a boyfriend, like shut up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you know? And all of my songs would come out sounding like cliches. And so it's really hard to write something that is authentic and also not accurate.
Yes. And I mean, this is a little like swerve to the left, right? Whatever. In one of your songs, I can't remember which one it is, but you talk about, you like make a specific reference to leaving a cinema.
Yes. Just Another Day Without You Here.
Yeah.
Get back from the movies.
Yes.
Think about all my mistakes. Yeah.
And that is my favorite. I don't know, I guess it is a lyrical technique, but it's like when you kind of, because love is such a cliche in itself that it's like everyone's felt it, I would hope. If you haven't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be romantic. Yeah. Everyone's loved someone, right?
Everyone's loved someone, right? Or has, you know.
Pet? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
I hope you've all experienced love in your lives.
I would hope so. But, like, it's this thing of, like, okay, so you've got, like, 80% of this song is, like, probably a bunch of cliches, right?
Yeah.
If 20% of that you just throw in really specific references, even if you're aware that the listener is going to have no context to these references, it is one of the most powerful things to do because I feel like, maybe I didn't have an experience where like I left a cinema, you know, thinking about my mistakes. But maybe it takes me to another point where it's like I had a similar experience and it's just like, or like I'm wondering I wonder what she's talking about, or like it makes me curious about what she's talking about. And it's like, I don't know, it's just, I feel like it's not done enough because people think, the listener's not going to understand why I'm saying this. It's like,
it's not universal. It's not like
universal.
Everyone's experience. Yeah. I feel like an artist that does that really well is Phoebe Bridgers.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like sometimes people make fun of her for how specific her lyrics are. I love that. I love how specific they are. I'm like, you gave me $1,500 to see a hypnotherapist. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, never been to hypnotherapy and I've never been given $1,500 before straight off the bat. I'll take it. But I'm just like, wow, I can so clearly picture this scenario.
Yeah.
And I really like those specific details. And to me, it doesn't matter if they're true or not. Like, I think in her case, most of the time it seems like they are pretty accurate, but like, if that didn't happen, it wouldn't matter to me. Like, it wouldn't make me think, she's a liar.
So I guess my next question to kind of round everything off is, where do you see yourself like kind of going in the next like 5, 10? I'm looking real far into the future. Like where, if you got to like 90 years old and you're looking back on your life, like how would you want it to go?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I am going to London.
She's leaving
I
us.
am, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going in July. So I feel like with that, there's obviously a lot of ways that my life could go, to be honest. So I don't know. Like, it depends how long I stay there. It depends what kind of career I pursue there. This is a cop-out answer, but I just think there are too many variables. And, like, I think, you know, like, I understand people who have a 5-year, a 10-year, a 20-year goal or whatever, but that's just not how I see my life, because I look back even 5 years and I'm just like, wow, okay, everything has changed so much, and maybe things didn't go to plan, but that doesn't mean that they haven't turned out great.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's good to embrace spontaneity as long as you're like thinking, you know, as long as each choice you make has the intention of like fulfilling you, you know? Like, I don't think everything has to be for a greater goal. But that being said, I'll try and actually answer your question when I'm 90 years old.
Yeah, no, come back to me when you're 90.
Yeah, well, I'll come back to you when I'm 90 and then I'll let you know. I don't really know.
No.
I honestly, I just hope that I am surrounded by people that I love and who love me, and that I feel fulfilled and like I've done basically everything I wanted to do. That's all I could hope for.
Yeah.
And more. Yeah. And even if I didn't get to do everything that I wanted to do, like, I would just want to be content with what I had done. That's it.
That's really good. That's
Thank
a
you.
great answer. Well, thanks for inviting me into your bedroom.
Coming over, it's been so much fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having a giggle with me. I really hope we didn't distort anything.